All right. What is up, everybody? We are live. Hope everybody is doing good on this Tuesday. Not a lot really going on with the All Star weekend being in town news wise, but Denny Hamlin did stir things up a little bit. Saw this on Estep. I know Breakhard has a video out about it. Haven't seen Breakhard's video yet, but saw Estep's video on it and I did see the clip also from Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin. So if you want to check out the full interview or the clip or whatever, it is over there, wherever you get your Actions Detrimental. But he was talking to Kyle Busch and he brought up the Indy 500. And the Indy 500, Kyle Busch said he had two opportunities lined up to run the Indy 500. He said one of them fell through, I guess, because of funding or something like that. I couldn't put it together and all that. But the one that got the most traction, the one that got the most attention, of course, was when he said Joe Gibbs shot down the other one. And in fact, the other one, well, we'll get to that in just a minute. But he said Joe Gibbs shot down one because, reasons or whatever. He said he had it fully funded by M&M's. M&M's was going to fund the whole entire thing. He said it was going to be with Arrow McLaren. It was going to be a Chevrolet Toyota thing. He said he got that cleared. He said he got it all the way through there, but then he got it up to Joe Gibbs, and Joe Gibbs shot it down. So that got a lot of people talking. That seems to be the biggest story of the week. Denny Hamlin coming through for us once again and stirring things up, stirring the pot as he likes to do from time to time. But it did beg the question: should Joe Gibbs have let Kyle Busch race, and should he have not let Kyle Busch race? And that is the poll question if you want to get your vote in. But let's look at it from both sides of the aisle. Let's look at it from both angles. Obviously, from the race, or all three angles, really. Look at it from Kyle Busch's angle. From Kyle Busch's angle, of course, you want to run this. Look at all of the hype that Kyle Larson got last year. And speaking of Kyle Larson, it was the Arrow McLaren deal that Kyle Larson did end up eventually getting. And look at all the publicity and press that Hendrick Motors and all that got. So instead of Kyle Larson doing the double, it would have been Kyle Busch doing the double like his brother did. And just imagine the amount of buildup and stuff like that, surrounding it that would have taken place if he had gotten it done under the M&M's Joe Gibbs banner. That would have been good for Joe Gibbs. Theoretically, would have been good for M&M's, would have been good for Kyle Busch if they got the same level of press recently that Kyle Larson got last year and this coming year up when he's going to attempt to do it again. So from Kyle Busch's standpoint, it's all good. There's nothing really bad that could have happened, aside from injury or aside from the rain debacle that Kyle Larson dealt with. So from Kyle Busch's side, it looks like mostly green flags. From the fans' perspective, the fans are pretty much in the same boat as Kyle Busch. You want to see him run. It was great for the sport. It was great for IndyCar. It was great for NASCAR. It was going to be a huge deal. It was going to be a great thing regardless. When Kurt Busch did it, it was a great deal. It was a good deal for him as well. And so from that perspective, that's two yeses, right? So now let's look at it from Joe Gibbs' perspective, where possibly financial reasons, I think is what Eric Estep brought up. He at that time when this deal was offered, this was prime Kyle Busch. He was basically in his prime. M&M's was ready to fund it. No issues there. But from the perspective of Joe Gibbs was paying these guys superstar money at the time. Matt Kenseth was over there, things like that. This was the golden era. Everybody was getting paid, right? So you have a huge financial investment in it. However, I don't necessarily buy into that. I'm going to make a better argument for Joe Gibbs here in just a minute. I don't necessarily buy into that because if you look at the first championship that Kyle Busch won, he won it in a shortened season. So I wouldn't worry about that as much from the financial side because you still know what you're getting from Kyle Busch there. So I don't think the financial issue would have been a deal because they had already dealt with something similar to that the year that he won the championship. I don't think M&M's would have bailed or, been super mad about it or anything like that. I think from Joe Gibbs' perspective, Joe Gibbs just wants to win. Joe Gibbs wants to win championships, and he knows, and he's a pretty conservative guy. He knows that his best chance to win a championship is with a full season of Kyle Busch. You're going to get the most wins, all that stuff. Side marketing aside, yeah, it's going to be good for M&M's. Yeah, it's going to be good for Kyle Busch. But would it have been good overall for Joe Gibbs? Yeah, you get Joe Gibbs' name out there, but Joe Gibbs doesn't really sell a product other than championships. So from Joe Gibbs' perspective, I think he's just a highly competitive guy. And he thought his best opportunity to win championships is to have his drivers focused on the NASCAR side of things and not worried about this distraction over here. If you think about football in that era too, if you remember football back in the day, they always talk about all that over there is a distraction. That's a distraction. We just want to play football. That's the world that Joe Gibbs came from. So from Joe Gibbs' perspective, competitively, I think Joe Gibbs wanted to win a championship. I think more so that had to do with it, not letting Kyle Busch race the Indy 500 than really literally anything else. So I'm thinking he just wanted to win a championship, and that's why he shot down probably both opportunities there for Kyle Busch. But that's just my perspective, so I can see it either way. But it is the poll question. If you want to vote on it, go ahead and jump in. I have a pretty good pretty good idea of which direction that poll is going to go. The other kind of news that broke today or last night or whenever it broke, Harrison Burton going to race for Rick Ware Racing. This will be Rick Ware Racing's first appearance in the All-Star race. So that is huge from the perspective of Rick Ware Racing, who is in that lawsuit with Legacy over the charters and all that. So a little bit of positive news here from Rick Ware Racing. They get to race in the All-Star race for the first time ever. His son, Cody Ware, just won a Cars Tour Pro Late Model, Super Late Model, whatever they're called over there now. Pro Late Model, I think, race over there in the Cars Tour. So a little bit of good momentum going for Rick Ware Racing, even though they're in the Legacy lawsuit as well. But the driver of that, of course, is going to be Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton, who a lot of people, I think, forgot. Hey, by the way, Harrison Burton won a race last year. So he does get to participate in the All-Star race. A really cool move for Rick Ware Racing to step up and basically honor his win, because I don't think a lot of people were really thinking about, hey, Harrison Burton is eligible to run in the All-Star race. Rick Ware Racing snapping up that opportunity to bolster itself, getting themselves an All-Star start, and also, helping out Harrison Burton get over there and race. And Harrison Burton doing his thing over there in the Xfinity Series this year. Hopefully he can get some good results, helping the Haas team over there in Xfinity. Certainly Haas and Xfinity doing much better than Haas in the Cup Series. Unfortunate season thus far for Haas in the Cup Series. So yeah, that's kind of the news. The other real news from the All-Star break is the All-Star Open votes. Whichever driver is going to get voted in. Right now I'm thinking they listed all 5 of them, but I'm pretty sure Noah Gragson. It was Noah Gragson, Bubba Wallace, Zane Smith, and Shane Van Gisbergen, and I can't remember who the other one was. Maybe Pickle Todd, off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. But I know Noah Gragson, SVG, and Bubba Wallace definitely in there. And I'm thinking Noah Gragson or SVG probably wins the fan votes based off crowd reaction at the tracks that I've been to over the past 2 to 3 years here. And just SVG, he's going to get the New Zealand vote, you would imagine. And probably a strong portion of the Australian vote as well. But for sure, I'm thinking those two, if they don't win outright, now don't get me wrong, SVG could win the Open, and also Noah Gragson could easily win the Open. So either way, I'm thinking those drivers get in, and it would be a situation. I think Casey Kane and maybe was Kyle Larson one. I know for sure Casey Kane, and I think Kyle Larson are the two off the top of my head that got the Open invite or won the Open race and then won the actual All-Star race. But that's just off the top of my head. Maybe Blaney. I don't know. It's been a while. I know for sure Casey Kane, though. So we'll stick with Casey Kane. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown. That was the news today. And now we'll jump into the chat and see what you guys want to talk about. Let's see here. Jamie Schweitzer saying, will we see a fan vote winning driver win the All-Star like Casey Kane in 2008, or a rookie win like Kurt Busch did in 2002? I hadn't factored in a rookie possibly winning. That's super interesting. SVG, maybe Riley Herbst is more of a super speedway specialist, so we'll have to see what Riley Herbst brings to the table as far as rookie goes. But yeah, Casey Kane, you reiterating just kind of what I just I talked about right there. He got the fan vote and then won the All-Star race, so we could possibly see something like that happen. Or will we see it happen at North Wilkesboro? Good question. Jesse Daly, what's up, my friend? Wise guy. Jamie Schweitzer, what's up as well? PC Gone Rogue, what's happening, my friend? In Between the Lanes, BB doing Dirty Mo ad reads, says In Between the Lanes. Not doing ad reads, but just free promotion. Haven't been paid anything by him just yet. I am not a shill. Kenny Wallace with a video today talking about he's not a shill either because he doesn't get paid anything from NASCAR. In fact, he paid NASCAR or something like that. I don't know. He was all up in arms about it, about being called a shill. I think over the Talladega race. So good. It's a good video from Kenny Wallace. He addresses a lot of cool stuff in it. I like Kenny Wallace, so check that one out if you haven't seen it just yet. Will Denny Hamlin stirring the pot, making Joe Gibbs look bad, likely affect his employment with JGR, says Jamie Schweitzer. I doubt it because Denny Hamlin didn't say it so much as Kyle Busch did. So it is what it is. I don't think it's necessarily going to play into anything. Denny Hamlin and Coach Gibbs get along pretty well, from my understanding. So I don't think it's really going to be, too much about it. Gibbs had too much invested in Kyle money wise. Hamlin is the last of the highly paid drivers for Gibbs. Everybody else is on the cheap. I get why he didn't do it. I didn't want it to happen, says one wise guy. So, yeah, that's the other thing that a lot of people have pointed out that I meant to address as well. His grandson's there now, and his grandson gets to race dirt. Now Christopher Bell gets to race dirt, and a lot of people are pointing out it's money. It's a money thing. I think it's more or less the grandson said, hey, we're going to race dirt. And he, it's family. So sometimes your will is not as strong for family as it is when you're just coaching up athletes and stuff like that. So I think that has more to do with it. But everybody's pointing to the financial side of things. I don't think it's really that deep. I think Joe Gibbs is just super competitive, and he thinks that that's going to help him win the most. And now because his grandson wants to race dirt, though, I think he's bent a little bit that particular deal because it's his grandson. I think to me, that's more or less where I stand with it. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Well, that's just my take on it. I definitely understand the other side. Other people arguing it is financial. What's up? My other dysfunctional family, says Joseph Wooten. What's up, Joseph Wooten? Good to see you on here, my friend. I saw earlier where Larson had to leave qualifying so he wouldn't be able to sit in on the pole. Is that because he's leaving for North Wilkesboro? Probably. I would imagine that's the only reason he would leave. The Indy qualifying stuff or something like that. Probably trying to make amends for last year since NASCAR got so butthurt about it, even though their ratings were through the roof because he was trying to attempt what he was trying to attempt. NASCAR not seeing the forest for the trees, in my opinion, on that particular deal. Joe Gibbs hates any car without fenders, says Timber Ace. For sure. But he's relinquished that particular view now that his grandson wants to do it. A lot of people saying it's because the finances have changed. I'm saying it's because his grandson wants to do it. But we'll see if we ever get down to the bottom of it or not. Coach doesn't want his drivers to get injured. Maybe things have changed now with lifting the dirt ban. I think Bell would be a good candidate to attempt the double, says Napa Race fan. Yeah, Christopher Bell certainly got to be top tier as far as if you're picking a handful of drivers to race open wheel. I think Christopher Bell's definitely got to be on that list. With what you've seen Scott McLaughlin do, I would definitely say that Shane Van Gisbergen also has to be on that list as well, for sure. Best moment of Kansas Cup race during the pace laps, Boyer. How about you, Kyle Busch? Larson? Well, Jamie McMurray says Napa Race fan. So yeah, basically, in case you missed the encounter, Clint Boyer called Kyle Larson Kyle Busch, and Kyle Larson called Clint Boyer Jamie McMurray, and everybody had a good laugh about that one. And that was probably one of the better parts of the race, no doubt about it. It was a super boring race. Thoughts on the Cars Tour broadcast with Harvick and Dale Jr. in the booth should be interesting. I'm gonna tell you what, it's just a personal thing. It's mixed emotions, and he's still part of the broadcast. It's really cool, but Blake McCandless calls the races for Ace, and I like Blake McCandless a lot. He's a super good guy. So I'm kind of sad to not see Blake McCandless in the booth for a Fox broadcast, but I totally understand it. Harvick and Jr. are the bigger names there. And then they kept Eric Brennan, who is also a very good announcer as well. But I really wanted to see Blake get up there. But Blake will be on pit road. Blake McCandless will be on pit road, and he will be running up and down, getting driver interviews. So he is still part of the broadcast. I thought that was really cool. But I did want to see him in the booth, man. But I guess they didn't want to have a 4-man booth. That's understandable. But kind of a bummer. Blake probably doesn't care at all. But that's just coming from me. But he is still part of the broadcast. He'll be on pit road. So that'll be super cool for sure. I'm looking forward to that. For sure. Actually, we'll be able to watch that one for once because I don't think I'm going up there. I haven't heard anything yet, but if that changes, I'll let you guys know. What's your opinion on the narrative of 2311 closing mid-season? I feel it's a nothing burger and laughable. Denny Hamlin's already shot that one down. He said that they've already planned for something like this to happen if the charters get, the injunction gets taken away and stuff like that. So he's already said that they've planned for that. So they're not going under. That's just That's the same type of talk you hear about like all the time that Bill Belichick won't make it to week one for the North Carolina Tar Heels in football. It's just something people throw out there to get clicks and views. In my opinion, I don't think that there's any substance to it. I haven't heard any substance to it, but it is what it is. Kenny Wallace had a rant about not being oh, hey, there we go. Napa racing fans on it. I just talked about that as well. Kenny Wallace had a rant about not being a NASCAR shill while having coffee. Says Napa racing fan. Indeed, he was not happy about being called a NASCAR shill because he doesn't get any money from NASCAR. So I don't know. I don't know. He said you can talk about the next gen car, but overall NASCAR is a good deal. So he defended his position for sure. Check that one out if you think Kenny Wallace is a NASCAR shill, because he will. He's speaking to the fans. He's addressing it. So cool of him to actually acknowledge it and address the fans. I think it's a cool deal all the way around. Jesse Daly Gibbs doesn't really like his drivers doing much other forms of racing. He's finally loosened up a little bit with Seabell on dirt racing. Ty's desire to run some dirt may have helped with that, says Jesse Daly. So Jesse Daly, what's up, Jesse, is definitely in the same boat that I'm in. I think the grandson twisted his arm a little bit and said, "Hey, come on, man. Hey, let us race dirt." And that was pretty much all it took. So that's the way I think it went down, but that's just my opinion. Casey Kane won the All-Star race on the with the fan vote, says Napa Race fan. Indeed. Indeed. Coffee with Kenny is awesome, but what happened to coffee with Kyle? I don't know. I don't know if that's just something he doesn't want to do anymore. I know he's doing the petty charity ride or whatever right now, so he wouldn't be doing it right now anyway, I wouldn't think. Or maybe this is when he normally does it. I don't know. But Coffee with Kyle was definitely a cool one for sure. Dale Jr. won the All-Star race as a rookie in 2000s. Hey, there you go. There is your fun fact about Dale Jr. Coffee with Kenny is pretty funny more times than not, regardless if you agree with him or not, says Napa Race fan. Yeah, Coffee with Kenny. He's just got a big personality and he plays into that. So I do like Coffee with Kenny for sure. Coffee with Kyle had some good interviews too. It was, yeah, Coffee with Kyle was definitely a good series. Hopefully they bring it back if he has stopped doing it for sure. Since they didn't invert the field like they used to in the All-Star race, which really helped the driver who got in by vote to get track position at the end of the race. Yep, the invert, playing the invert was a big deal. I remember Rusty Wallace played it perfectly one year, and that's how he got one of his All-Star wins. Let's freaking go, BB. Me and Matty Beans is here. What's up, Russell Dominguez? What's up, Matty Beans? I don't miss the convoluted inverting of the field, but anything goes for the All-Star race, even throwing a caution and going to overtime in the final lap in 2022, says Napa Racing fan. Indeed, keep your window nets up at all times, gentlemen. It's not over until it's over. NASCAR being offended that Larson prioritized the Indy 500 over the Coke 600 is ridiculous, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man. Like, I just thought it was the overall press that they got for it, the overall viewership, everything that went on that day. Like, they came out better than they lost on that deal. So I don't understand them being butthurt about it. The fans being butthurt about it, or just the fans that don't like Hendrick or Kyle Larson either way. So that you're going to get that one way or the other. But NASCAR being butthurt about it was literally the most childish thing in the history of childish things. But you know, when you get to the corporate world, they have just as much in common with prisoners as they do anybody else. So they a lot of psychotic egos going on there, in my opinion. I get the feeling old man Gibbs is a cheapo, says one wise guy. He's definitely super conservative. He wears what? Has anybody seen him wear any other hat or polo shirt to the racetrack? And is that possibly the exact same polo shirt that he's had for the last decade, and quite possibly the same hat he's had for the last decade too? Because he doesn't want to spend the extra cash. That is the conspiracy that we're going on with. Huge laughs for that one, no doubt about it. Let's see. One hot night, best all-star race ever, says Delmer Kaufman. Or was that more of like a rim shot one? Maybe, I don't know. Rim shot or a laugh track. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that one should have got there. Probably nothing. Too much fun with the soundboard. I feel like the late night DJs that nobody listens to, where they just keep playing with the soundboard. I get it now because it is super entertaining for me, but probably not all that entertaining for you. So I'll try to refrain from hitting all the buttons over here. One hot night, best all-star race ever, says Delmer Kaufman. Indeed, it was. I feel like that's the one that put the All-Star race on the map for sure. Roger Penske owns both IRL and Indy. Yet none of his Team Penske drivers try the double. I wonder what the story is there, says Jamie Schweitzer. Probably the same logic behind it. I think Roger Penske's is more of he wants the guy that he thinks can actually win the Indy 500 because I know that Ryan Blaney mentioned it, and he basically more or less told Ryan Blaney, "You're not that guy, bro." In Roger Penske's opinion, I think Scott McLaughlin could do it the other way. Like Scott McLaughlin could run the IndyCar race and then go over to Charlotte. I think that's more likely what you're closer to seeing with the Penske drivers that they have in place. I don't know that Joey Logano necessarily has an interest in it. I'm sure everybody has some level of interest in it to an extent. I haven't heard Joey Logano express any interest in it. You have heard Ryan Blaney. Austin Cindric would be an interesting pick because Austin Cindric has some open wheel experience. But I feel like of all the drivers they have at Penske, Scott McLaughlin would be your better bet for that particular double if Roger Penske was going to try it. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Understand Gibbs' dirt racing concerns. Just had a driver flip and break 2 bones in his neck last weekend at our local dirt track. He's recovering, will be okay, but may not race again, says Bruce Garvey. Indeed, dirt is a dangerous sport, but so is all motorsports. So from the injury perspective, you can understand it too. But Kyle Busch's first championship, to go back to where this conversation originally started, he won it in a shortened season as well. The captain, Roger, doesn't like his drivers doing other disciplines outside of their day jobs, says Napa Racer fan. How do you feel about Jesse Love's performance in the equipment he is in, says Sir Wood Rooster? I think he's just like every other rookie. He's going to take a long time to get used to this car because this new car is a way different. You do see some guys who are just above and beyond, like Corey Heim, for sure. But I think eventually Jesse Love will get acquainted with this equipment. He's doing really good in the Xfinity series, so you can't take that away from him. And he's definitely not sitting in the best of the best equipment either, but I think he'll get better and better with more starts in the Cup Series. And I think it's really interesting that they're adding Cup starts for him. What's going on over there? Do we have a situation where he's going to move up? Is RCR contemplating running a third car? Is somebody retiring? That's a fair question and a good question to ask about the Jesse Love deal. And of course, where is Corey Heim going to slot in? Is 2311 dropping somebody, or is somebody going to like Legacy? Is that what they're getting the extra charter for? I think that's a super interesting perspective and angle on both of those drivers. The rookie class next year could be exciting if we get Corey Heim, Jesse Love, and Zilly. That would be an amazing rookie class next season for sure. Hi, y'all from North Idaho. What's up, North Idaho? What's up, Cassandra? Evening, Double B. What's up, Douglas Serrano? Good to see you on here, my friend. One wise guy saying hey to Cassandra. How about those Carolina Hurricanes, says Dummer Kaufman. Yeah, they're doing good this season. They're making a run. They that first game they got of this series, they got sort of spanked, but then they returned the favor. So they're right back in it. And hopefully for the Carolina Hurricane fans, they keep plugging along. Wouldn't be against delaying the start of the 600 to around 7 p.m. to make it a little easier for drivers doing the double, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, but then you're up against it with TV. TV's just not going to work with you as far as that goes. Penske is the worst with letting his drivers race different forms of racing now that they don't have the Xfinity Series program. The only time you see his drivers is on Sundays. Indeed. Roger is he's very technical and by the book guy. That's sort of his deal. But I do think he would. He's basically come out and said, I think on the Dale Jr. interview, when Dale Jr. interviewed him, he said if he had the right guy, he would probably do it. If I remember correctly, and I might not be remembering correctly, but I'm thinking he said if he had the right guy, and I'm thinking the guy he was thinking about was Scott McLaughlin. So I think it would be instead of NASCAR to Indy, it would be Indy to NASCAR with Scott McLaughlin. I like the rim shot, says one wise guy. So one vote for the rim shot on my terrible jokes. Sound effects, that's new, says Douglas Serrano. It's kind of new. It's sound effects on purpose is new. We've had some sound effects by accident. That was a great stream. I wish you guys could have heard it. Has anyone grabbed tickets to the to North Wilkesboro? What do you think about the prices, says Tim Brace? The prices are not cheap. That's all I can say. I don't know if I would pay it. That's all I can say about that. But if it's worth it to you, it's worth it to you. The price is the price, and your desire to see it is your desire to see it. Don't let anybody talk you out of it if you want to go see it and have the funds to go do it for sure. Knicks are up 3-1, says in between the lanes. NASCAR didn't like the fact that when the Indy 500 was delayed, one of their biggest stars was still competing at Indy when the 600 started. So it really hurt the viewership of their event, says Dirty Def. It did, but then it jumped right back up when you knew he was coming back. So they did gain it back. They actually got more views during the rain delay because they everybody was on Larson watch. Is he going to make it back? Da, da, da. Like they can, don't let them fool you. They benefited from it overall, and not only that, but just the build up to it. They got more coverage on the build up to it than they did for the actual race. Man, it was, to me, it was a win win. Don't let NASCAR gaslight you. Essentially, OJ and Toothpaste, what's up, my friends? Sup, Bologna Burger and crew. We are here, says OJ. This could be the last double attempt we see in a long time with Larson due to NASCAR being offended. The Coke 600 is way more important and prestigious than the Indy 500. It has 100 more miles, says an Apple Race fan. Indeed, it does have 100 more miles. And how could that be overlooked possibly at all? And then when it was rain shortened, so the 600 viewership was horrible. Yeah, I think the rain shortened part of it is what made the viewership horrible, because I think if they had gotten it restarted, Larson would have made some noise for sure. Having some beers in the LAX airport, waiting for, or the LAZ airport, Arizona airport, waiting to go home. Oh, no, he's in the LAX airport. Okay, there we go. Los Angeles, Arizona airport. Los Angeles International Airport. OJ and Toothpaste is chilling. For sure. Enjoy your time at the airport. I don't at all. So at least you're enjoying your time there, chilling, my friend. Coke 600 ratings will be worse this year, going from Fox to Prime. That's something definitely I think we're going to have to take a look at. It'll be interesting to see the viewership difference one way or the other. Hey, BB, please explain to me how Lane Riggs' truck passed pre-race inspection and then fails post-race. Why didn't that get caught in the beginning? I just don't understand it, says Roger Riggs. Pre-race tech usually is not as stringent as post-race tech. They just look for different things too. So that's also a fact about it too. Pre-race tech, you kind of know what's going to happen. Post-race tech, they throw wild cards at you. So that's why it probably got caught in post-race tech. If I had to wager a guess on it, that's just from the late model side of things. Late model side of things, we know exactly what they're looking for pre-race. Post-race, they check a lot of little different things that they don't check in the normal pre-race, because basically, guys have won the race. They're doing a more thorough inspection. So that would be my rationale for that. I'm sure it's the same in the Cup Series, but I can't say for sure because I don't work in the Cup Series. I can only speak from the late model side, but that's how it is in late model. So I would wager, I guess it's the same way on the Cup side, or in this particular situation on the Truck Series side. Penske with his IndyCar drivers is pretty ruthless. I've seen him get rid of some very good drivers if he didn't think they could win the 500, says Bruce Garvey. Indeed, Roger Penske wants to win, and he wants you to win in your discipline. He doesn't want you worried about anything else. And that's what I was saying about Joe Gibbs. I think Joe Gibbs is more about that life than he's really worried about the financial side of things. Because if Joe Gibbs was really worried about finances, he wouldn't be racing. I'll just go ahead and tell you that right now. He's not making any money racing. Nobody's making any money racing. Even Hendrick says they break even on good years. You said RCR and Love, but what about Hill? Hill, I don't know. He's gotten a few starts, but they seem to be favoring Jesse Love as far as the Cup side of starts, and that could be sponsors and financial stuff. Maybe Jesse Love has a deal worked out with somebody that's not RCR, and that's who's funding the RCR rides. You never know. A lot of complicated things when silly season comes to play, so I don't know. RCR has got a lot of drivers over there, and somebody is going to be out of a seat. I just don't know who it's going to be at some point. So I don't know. I don't see Austin Hill staying in the Xfinity Series forever, and I certainly don't see Jesse Love staying in the Xfinity Series forever. So something at some point is going to have to give over there. But it's a good problem to have. You got a lot of good drivers over there, and they got to go somewhere. Hot take. If SVG doesn't win a race this year, they replace him. I would hate it, but you never know, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, that's a good question over there for Trackhouse. Are they going to stick with the guys they got, or will they get rid? I think Ross is safe with the Busch deal, obviously. But who, if they bring up Connor Zilic, which a lot of people are speculating they will do, who is the man out? Is it going to be Suarez? Is it going to be SVG? I don't know. I think that's just a good question. Everybody seems to be leaning towards Suarez, but I don't know. Anything can happen. This might be the most non-eventful silly season in a while, other than the question about Suarez and the third charter at Legacy. What else is there? Yeah, that's so far. We just don't know. We just don't know what's happening yet. You know what I mean? Would NASCAR take the Indy 500 into consideration for or against moving the Coca-Cola 600 in the season finale? Coca-Cola 600 for the season finale would be bananas. That would be just as crazy, in my opinion, as a super speedway race. But that's just my opinion on that. Shout out to Scott McLaughlin, fellow New York Mets and New York Knicks fan, says in between lanes. There you go. Yeah, and the Knicks are doing good. They're about to. We'll see if they can get it done with the Celtics there with the 3-1 lead. I see the race car drivers now have YouTube channels. They never used to do that, says Douglas Serrano. I think that's part of NASCAR paying them. I think NASCAR is paying for some of those channels, in my opinion, and it's allegedly and all that other stuff that I got to say legally. I went to North Wilkesboro. It's probably a lot of that stuff is being produced by the NASCAR studios or whatever that they built there in Concord or Charlotte or wherever. That would be my guess as to why we saw all these channels pop up all of a sudden. I went to North Wilkesboro last year. Just look at the timeline and then look at all these channels we got now. Like, put your tinfoil hat on, but I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say that. I went to North Wilkesboro last year for the All, especially when you see that NASCAR is paying these drivers to make more appearances. That's probably one of the appearances they're paying them to make, in my opinion. So it is what it is. I could be wrong though. I went to North Wilkesboro last year for the All-Star race, and it was the best experience I've had at a NASCAR race, despite the mediocre racing in the track, says Dirty Death. And that's one thing I will say about NASCAR. It is always better when you go to the track itself than watching it on TV. It's kind of like you start to understand the F1 side of things. F1 people are going for the event. F1 people are going to be seen and take selfies and do all that stuff, the pomp and the pageantry. It's not the exact same, but in NASCAR, you are going to the race to get the experience. And the experience at the racetrack, regardless of how the racing is usually so phenomenal that no matter what the race puts on, you kind of enjoy the experience, even if it's a dud of a race. So there is something to be said for that. For sure. I wish more people would actually get out and go to races, even if it's a track that they think is going to be a boring race, because a lot of times the experience itself will get you to come back 100%, in my opinion. Do you think Hocevar will drive for Hendrick one? And now he's a NASCAR shill because he was saying good things about NASCAR. I'm going to jump on there with Kenny Wallace. Do you think Hocevar will drive for Hendrick one day? Says OJ and Toothpaste. Oh, that's a long ways off, man. I don't know. He's kind of driving for him now because I feel like Rick Hendrick has a heavy hand in that Spire deal with Andretti allegedly over there. So who would he replace? Everybody's always going to say Alex Bowman, right? But I don't know. I could see it happening for sure. Will it happen? I don't know. I think he's going to have to clean up his DNFs before Rick Hendrick considers him, because otherwise he's going to be a liability as far as just costing more money than he's going to get wins with. So I don't know, but a lot of guys are wide open their first few years and then they figure it out. We'll have to see if he figures it out or if he keeps being wide open, in my opinion. I would feel that way if I was NASCAR. You want your biggest stars to fully compete in your biggest events. I also think Hendrick wasn't up front with him, so that didn't help. There seems to be some type of miscommunication there. I don't know if Rick Hendrick is a car salesman at the end of the day. I don't know if there was a miscommunication on purpose or if it was a miscommunication unintentionally, but there definitely seemed to be some hurt feelings about the communication side of things for sure. Hocevar doesn't need the Hendrick A team. He has a ton of speed with the B team, plus Bowman shouldn't be dumped from the 48, says Napa Race fan. Yeah, I'm not on board with the get rid of Bowman talk. I think he's done an excellent job with his time there in the 48. Indy 500, 2 weeks away, says in between the lanes. There you go. 2 weeks away from the 500. The greatest day in all of motorsports. Do you think Bowman, Byron, with all three events? Elliot will get jealous. HendrickCars.com sponsors Larson at Cup and Indy. Not full time. I don't think so, because they do sponsor those guys when they drop down to race in the other series. So I don't think it's anything like that. I think they understand it for sure. I see Prime made an announcement that they have sold all their commercials out for the NASCAR races, and they said they will be side by side. That's awesome. That's awesome. So Prime stepping up and doing the right thing there. I appreciate you there, Bruce Garvey, for dropping that. What about the comments about ECR engines, says Delmar Kaufman? It wasn't. Here's the deal. AJ Allmendinger, if you ever listen to his in-car audio, he's outside of the car, he's not, but inside of the car, he's the most miserable human being you've ever heard in a race car. Like, you would literally think he hates every moment of every race. And I'm talking about, I've seen this dude be running in like 4th or 5th place, acting like the car. He's almost like Kyle Busch back in the day, really. acting like this car is the biggest piece of trash. Like he's just very emotional in the race car, kind of like Ryan Blaney to an extent. So take what AJ Allmendinger says with a grain of salt. ECR engines are good engines. Everybody pretty much knows that. ECR horsepower is not the problem at RCR at all. The problem with RCR is actually getting finishes. They've had speed. They've been up there with track position. They've just had stupid stuff happen, or they've had miscommunicate or penalties or something on pit road. Or Kyle Busch had like a second place, third place wrapped up, but he overdrove it going for the win, which I'm fine with. I want my driver going for wins. I was happy he did that, but something like that happens. So the finishes for RCR just haven't come, but the speed's been there, and it's not the horsepower. Look, you got a bad engine. Shit happens from time to time. This is why I hate people making too much about the audio. I swear to God, it's the easiest thing to do in all of motorsports. We can grab some audio every week of somebody having a meltdown over something. But at the end of the day, is ECR going to be happy when they hear that? No. Is it going to be a super big deal? No, because they're professionals. They're going to continue to make really good motors, and AJ Allmendinger is going to get really good motors going forward. It's just one of those things. We saw Ty Gibbs have a complete engine failure the other day, or what, 2 or 3 races ago. We've seen how many, 2 or 3 here already this season for Blaney. Stuff happens, man. Stuff happens from time to time, and that's just the way it goes. I'm not going to make too much about it, but obviously they went with the quote and ran with it. But I don't think there's anything there. Do you think this is a wake up call for NASCAR to revamp their pre-race inspection process like they did with the post-race inspections in 2019, especially after how many DQs we've seen this year? And I think they're happy with catching it in post-race. As long as they catch it, I think they're happy. So it is what it is. Just, NASCAR sending the message. Just don't cheat. They've been trying to send it since this new car has been debuted, really. Next gen car, whatever you want to call it. Coke 600 should never move from Memorial Day weekend. Just bring Bank of America 500 back. Saturday nights, race for the championship. Ditch the Roval, says Napa Race Fan. That would certainly be an option, for sure. BB with the allegedly nice, says in between the lanes. Ditch the Roval for sure, says Jesse Daly. So a lot of people not liking the Roval. Seabell doing double duty in Mexico City. Says in between the lanes. Kenny Wallace channel also had John Roberts interview with Chris Devoto recently. Many of NASCAR TV personalities got dumped. For sure. When things got changed up, a lot of people got dumped. She's Krista somebody else now. Like she only went by Chris Devoto because that was her state or TV name or whatever. She goes by her like actual last name now. And that was also on the Kyle Petty Victory Junction charity ride that he does with the motorcycles or whatever. When they did that interview as well. Rank 1 through 4 of the best NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB teams, says OJ and Toothpaste. I can't rank the top 4, but I would probably say NFL, the Cowboys probably bring in the most money. MLB, probably the Yankees, Dodgers, Braves, Red Sox probably bring in the most money. Let's see. I have no idea about the NHL. I'm out of the loop on that. NBA, it's just going to be your big market teams, LA and New York. They're going to bring in the most money for sure. So there you go. There's your ranking of big sports teams. Agree with ditching the Roval. I went there last year. Wasn't my cup of tea, says Delmer Kaufman. I want to go one year and check it out just to see it for sure. Kind of interesting that you can see the entire road course for the most part. So that's something. Best experience, says OJ and Toothpaste. Are you going to Hickory in 2 weeks? Oh, okay. So best experience at I'm a Yankees fan, but the Boston Red Sox, Fenway, that was a good experience for sure. NBA, I've only been to the Hornets games. So Hornets game when Steph Curry's playing, I guess would be your best experience there. As far as MLB goes, all the MLB stadiums are super cool. Check them out, but you're still better off going to a minor league game because minor league experiences are the best experiences for sure. Shout out to the Hickory Crawdads. That was a good one. Too many to name. Myrtle Beach was a good one. Burlington. They're the sock puppets now. Let's see. Durham Bulls for sure. Durham Bulls the best one though. Durham Bulls, you got to check that one out for sure. As a Charlotte area resident, ditch the Roval, says Jamie Schweitzer. Do you think Charlotte will ever host the championship race on an oval? Could be. I'm sure they got to be in the rotation. They're eventually going to have to share the wealth with Marcus. So I'm thinking Charlotte would have to be high on that rotation. I'm with Jamie, says Tim Brace, talking about dump the Roval. I think Ross would have other teams interested in him because he's a good driver. He has a good amount of fans that could support him. But every other team he could go to would be a lateral move or worse, says Dirty Duff. I would say that with one exception. If Hendrick, and this wouldn't be the first time that Hendrick has done a 180 on somebody, if Hendrick wanted him to say maybe replace, let's say Hendrick loses a big sponsor and they got to replace a driver, Ross Chastain with that Bush sponsorship, right over to Hendrick, I could see that happening all day. That would just make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. But who would you get rid of? Like who would lose the sponsorship and who would you get rid of in that situation? That's the crazy question you got to ask yourself, when you get to that level. I see a lot of fans want NASCAR to ditch Charlotte Roval and bring back the Bank of America 500 night race in the fall, says Douglas Serrano. I think you're right. But now that this car doesn't race good on 1.5s, are they really gaining anything? I don't know. If you saw Michael McDowell talking about Josephus last week on Stacking Pennies, I get the impression that Carson doesn't do a ton of studying. Says Dirty Def. Yeah, Carson is he's just sort of a drive-by feel type guy. You sort of get that vibe about him for sure. Let's see. Earth 2, Roush sells his stake of RFK Racing to Al Unser to be renamed FUK Racing, says Jamie Schweitzer. So there you go. That's the future of RFK. In between the lanes, I'm going to ask you this. When's the greatest day in racing, BB? But who do you have winning the 500? Oh, whew. That's a good question, man. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with IndyCar. So I'm just going to go with my favorite picks of all time. Kyle Kirkwood, Kyle Larson, or Scott McLaughlin, or Scott Dixon. Leaning towards Scott Dixon as far as all that stuff goes. Bowman is probably one of the most successful journeymen in NASCAR history, running for starting parks with BK and Baldwin back in 2014 and 2015, replacing Dale Jr. and winning races with HMS. I would say so. Yeah, for sure. He's definitely got to be on that list. I don't think a change of scenery is out of the question for Chase Elliott at some point, especially if Larson and Byron keep winning more races than him each year, says Jesse Daly. It would be, in that situation, Jesse Daly, it would be Chase Elliott chooses the change of scenery, not Rick Hendrick, because I don't think Rick Hendrick's ever going to part ways with him. ECR has not been on par with Hendrick for a long time. AJ has been way better than his colleague equipment this year. Same with Ross and Trackhouse. It's not the horsepower, man. Like, look, here's the deal. It's not the horsepower though. Like, it's the setups. Where they're off is the setups. It's not the horsepower, because it's not going to make that big a difference with this car. They're going to get this car to the horsepower that it's going to be, and it's not going to fluctuate much past that because of the rules that they've got in place for the engine. It's basically a spec engine. You're only going to get so much out of it. Where these teams are getting beat is on superior setups, and that's racing all across the board. I get so tired of hearing about all that guy's got a big motor. That's not what you're getting beat with, unless it's like a freaking stroker, which none of these teams at this level are doing. That's not what you're getting beat by. You're getting beat by setups. So they got to go back and study and figure out where they're missing stuff on setups, because that's where they're getting beat. They're not getting beat on horsepower. The ECR thing has been beat to death. That's not where they're losing for sure. They weren't losing when Trackhouse had ECR power and was winning all those races. They weren't losing then, so it's not like they jumped up and found horsepower all of a sudden. They're getting beat on setup. That's where they're getting beat, in my opinion. But that's just me. Feel free to disagree. It's a free country. AJ Allmendinger wins Radio Sweetheart of the Week. Classic Kurt Busch, particularly 2012 with Phoenix Racing. Says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, Kurt Busch was the king of Radio Sweetheart, no doubt about it. Across the top 3 series, says Douglas Serrano. YouTube getting aggressive with the commercials today. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we can go to Twitch, but Twitch I feel like it's even worse with commercials, but I don't know. Seabell driving for Sam Hunt Racing, Mexico City. And I'm not going to Twitch. That was a joke. Twitch is worse with commercials. Seabell driving for Sam Hunt Racing, Mexico City in Xfinity. Indeed. He is going to be doing double duty. You want to listen to Hot Blooded Tempers, listen to in-car radios of F1 drivers during their races for sure. BB, did you see Denny Hamlin's reaction to the NBA draft lottery last night? Yeah, he's a super big Charlotte Hornets fan. He sits basically courtside. every game. Back when I had my season tickets, I was not sitting courtside, but I was close enough to see him and make out who Denny Hamlin was if I had binoculars. Let's see. I don't like the road races at all, except the Chicago street race, says Ron Russell. So yeah, uh, I don't know. We've only had one street race so far, so it's hard to judge it. F1 drivers are miserable on the radio for sure. Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals. Savannah Bananas is a good one too. That's a Harlem Globetrotters esque type show for sure. I don't think Hendrick will have a beer sponsor, says Dirty Death. They've had one before though. They had Budweiser for a long period of time, so I don't think that's it's not like a moral thing that they've got over there over beer. We have the Fayetteville Woodpeckers enjoying going to our minor league baseball, says Delmer Kaufman. So there you go, over there in Vietnam, enjoying the times over there. Shout out to David Land for the IndyCar coverage. Yeah, he did the behind the scenes tour or whatever today. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw the thumbnail, I should say. Team Penske team wins Indy, says Jamie Switzer. That's usually a pretty fair, a good bet there. Team Penske really, they really focus on them 500s. Alex Blow will win the Indy 500, and IndyCar Series has become the Alex Blow Series, winning 4 out of 5 races thus far, with his worst finish being second. Do you think the 1.5-mile races would be more interesting without stage cautions? Yes, I think all the races would be better without stage cautions. The long run cars never really have a chance to flex on the field, says Timber Race. Yeah, until the last stage. So it is what it is. Who drives for AJ Foyt in IndyCar, says Delmer Kaufman? Not a clue. I'm not an IndyCar expert at all. Shout out to Alex Pillow, who delivers with DHL like Hamlin did with the FedEx Now. And William Clyde Chase Elliott II says in between the lanes. Let's see. Take a look real quick here. AJ Foyt. Santino Ferrucci and David Malukas seem to be the drivers there for Mr. AJ Foyt. So that's the two drivers he's got over there, Delmer. Any word of whether Kyle Busch plans on racing in the Truck Series in Mexico? I haven't heard anything yet. I haven't heard anything at all as far as that goes. And in between the lanes, confirming who drives for Foyt there in IndyCar. No truck race at Mexico. Elliott delivers with Prime, says in between the lanes. So there you go. Chase Elliott delivering with Prime for sure. Kyle confirmed he wanted to race for at least 5 more years. Indeed, talking about Kyle Busch there on the Denny Hamlin podcast. He said he wants to get to the 70 win mark. He says he thinks that's reasonable. Santino Ferrucci and David Malukas drive for AJ Foyt, says Napa Race Fan. Question, if it's the setup, then why does Trackhouse, Hendrick, and RCR all share setups, but Hendrick clearly runs better? They don't share setups. Like there's no way they share setups. They would never do that for sure. They might share a baseline, but the baseline, they deviate from that quite a bit. You know a lot better than me. I know nothing about cars, says Dirty Death. They definitely do not share setups. Like there's guys that get paid a lot of money just to install the setups, and there's guys that get paid a lot of money to come up with the setups. That's where the engineers come in with the R&D stuff now, doing the simulations and stuff. That's where most of your setups come from now. And then you hire who's called a setup guy, the guy that goes in there and installs that setup on the car, who gets paid a pretty penny to do it properly, because it's super important. But yeah, they definitely do not share setups. The only time you would share setups is within a Hendrick, like maybe Hendrick within itself would share setups, but that would be the only time. And even then, you probably still wouldn't get the full. You'd get the main parts of the setup, but they wouldn't give you the little tweaks they're making to make it do this and that and the other thing. Right now, the 9 team is the 9 team problem. Is the 9 team's problem. The sooner they get out of their own way, they will start winning races, says Joseph Wooten. I agree. Couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely more set up with this car, but qualifying bad doesn't help either with how hard it is to pass. For sure, the qualifying has got to improve. Seen a lot of DQs across the top 3 series this year. This has become the year of disqualifications, says Douglas Serrano. Yeah, there's been quite a few. That just shows you teams are pushing it more and more. They're trying to find ways to get to the front, doing whatever they got to do. Because it's just there's so little room to play here that they're trying different stuff. If you think about how the big 3 have access to the most notes because of all the alliances they have, Hendrick literally has a partnership with every Chevy team except Colleague, who's basically RCR. Indeed. and they're also 4-car teams. All the teams that are successful, including Penske, because you got to include the Wood brothers in that. So all the teams that are successful are 4-car teams. That's more. That's one more car's worth of information you're getting. Just everything is bigger to scale. The cream always rises to the top, right? Do the Macho Man thing. The cream of the crop always rises to the top, or whatever Macho Man said there in that whatever he was doing with Mean Gene with the rim shot there. Do you think random draw qualifying would help some of the mid-pack teams out quite a bit? Not really, because after the first few laps, they're going to get passed. So I don't know. I don't know about all that. You're still going to have speed. So I don't know what you're really going to. There's no real way to help them, because the bigger teams are always just going to outspend them and find more. It's just a game of money, because the more money you spend, the better you can be, and the bigger teams are always going to have that advantage. So I don't know that there's any way to stop that. Even if you put a price cap on it, they're going to find ways around the price cap. So there's no, like, the richer teams are just always going to be better off. Didn't Hendrick also have Old Milwaukee? I know Tim Richmond did. I can't remember if he brought it over when he raced for them or not. AJ Foyt Racing is as an alliance with Team Penske. My mom and her now deceased husband once ran into Mario Andretti at St. Augustine's Church's Chicken place. He insisted they sit down and join him to eat together, says Jamie Schweitzer. Yeah, Mario seems to be a class act from what I've seen for sure. I haven't kept up with IndyCar since Foyt, John Cock, Unser, and the Mears days, says Delmer Kaufman. That's been quite a while for sure. But that was definitely an era. That was definitely a big era for him for sure. KFB claims he got access to Larson and Byron setups, but he can't drive the setups they use. Said it doesn't work for him, says Dirty Def. Yeah, and I just there's no way they give him the full. Like, in my opinion, it might sound good, and he might really believe that, but there's no freaking way, man. There's no way that they're giving him the setups. There's no way, no way in hell. Nope. Mm-mm. I don't think it's happening. I don't think they would do that. That's just me. Also, JGR basically builds all 23 11 cars. That's why, like, last year when there was like this guy that was giving setups away, that like they were trying to pry this one guy, like the big scandal that this guy was giving setups away. He was going to go to this other team at some point. That's why that was such a big deal. You would never ever give a setup away unless you had moved on to a new setup and you're giving them the old setup. Maybe in that situation you get the old setup, but you're not going to get the new setup. Yeah, I just don't. I don't see. Yeah, I just don't think that would happen, man. Like, I could be totally wrong. I could be 100% wrong. Kyle Busch knows more about it than I ever will. I just don't think they're getting the full setups there. But that's just me. Also, JGR basically builds 2311 cars, so it's like they have a 7-car team. Yeah, for sure. KFB said they just moved them from JGR to 2311 for the finishing touches. Indeed, and the races are won on those finishing touches. So that's what I'm saying. That's where the races are being won. It's not the overall setup. It's the other little stuff that's being done to the cars. Let's hope no bad weather in North Wilkesboro. And to be totally honest, somebody's probably figured a way to cheat that NASCAR can't find, and that's why some of these teams. Because, like, just look at the history of the sport. There's always somebody cheating, and they find ways to get away with it. And then, once they get caught, they fall back down to earth. That's what I'm thinking. Like, the teams that are dominating in the common template era, they found something that's probably not legal, and that's why they're smoking the field. Let's hope no bad weather in North Wilkesboro. Storming on Lake Norman right now, says Jamie Schweitzer. Yeah, hopefully. I'd say a setup, but you ain't getting nothing, says one wise guy. I agree with you, BB, but I remember when Corey LaJoy drove for Elliott, he used Chastain setup. I agree with you. They can't be sharing everything. Yeah, there's no way they're getting the full setup, in my opinion. Like, that just I don't think it would happen, but like, stranger things have happened. I can't say it hasn't, especially given the source. But I just man, I swear I couldn't see giving somebody a full setup, even if they paid me money, man. I couldn't give them the setup, man. Like, I would want to beat them more than I would enjoy that money or whatever. I agree. Yeah. So there you go. Looks like we've reached the end of it here. Final results of the poll question. Should Joe Gibbs have let Kyle Busch race the Indy 500? 85% saying yes. 15% saying no. So there you go. And with that, I'll check you guys later. Peace.